Welcome to josephsmithspolygamy.org, the audio version. Martha McBride, sealed summer, 1842. On March 17, 1805, Martha McBride was born in Chester Township, New York, the fifth child of Daniel McBride and Abigail Meade. Martha married Vincent Knight on July 26, 1826, and the two were converted in 1834 after meeting the prophet. Moving to Kirtland, Ohio the following year, they stayed until the spring of 1838, when they migrated to Missouri for less than 2 years and were established in Nauvoo by October of 1839. Vincent served as a bishop in Nauvoo and also assisted the prophet's own family. If brother Joseph were away, it was he who looked after the wants of his, Joseph's, family. He was always ready to look after the widows and orphans. Sometime before his untimely July 31, 1842 death, Vincent was sealed to a plural wife. A late second-hand account relates, Martha McBride Knight was told by Joseph Smith that she was the first woman to give her consent for her husband to enter into plural marriage. The story is told that Martha knew something was worrying her husband, and he couldn't seem to tell her about it. One evening, as Martha was sitting in the grape arbor behind the house, Vincent returned home carrying a basket. He explained to Martha that he had taken some fruit and vegetables to the widow of Levi N. Merrick, whose husband had been killed at Hawn's Mill. Vincent explained to Martha that he had been told to enter plural marriage and that, if he had to, this sister Merrick would be the one he could help best. Martha's reply is said to have been, "Is that all?" Concerning Vincent's plural marriage, church member Hiram Belknap remembered, at the time plural marriage was reviled, there was difficulty to find persons that would consent to go into it on the female side. Martha Knight says the prophet Joseph told her that she was the first one who consented to her husband to have another wife, and her husband Vincent Knight did take another woman and was sealed to her, a Mrs. Merrick. According to Todd Compton, we know virtually nothing about what Martha's and Joseph's married life was like, and little is known about Martha's life in Nauvoo from the time of Vincent's death to Joseph's. However, Martha McBride Knight signed an 1869 affidavit declaring that in the summer of the year 1842, at the city of Nauvoo, county of Hancock, state of Illinois, she was married or sealed to Joseph Smith, president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, by Heber C. Kimball, one of the 12 apostles in said church, according to the law of the same regulating marriage. Martha's affidavit does not specify whether the sealing to the prophet in 1842 was just for this life because she was then sealed to Vincent for time and eternity vicariously, or whether she was sealed to Joseph Smith for time and eternity. Regardless, in the Nauvoo Temple on January 26, 1846, Martha was sealed for eternity to Joseph Smith by proxy. If she had been previously sealed to Vincent, then who should be regarded as her eternal husband is not entirely clear. Even today, a deceased woman is permitted to be sealed by proxy to all the men with whom she lived as a legal wife during mortality, after her husbands are also dead. Since Martha can be the eternal mate of only one man, it is obvious that some sorting out of these timeless issues will need to occur during the millennium prior to the resurrection. The authority to bind on earth for eternity is also capable of unbinding. Sometime after May 23, 1843, Joseph Smith approached Martha in a matchmaking attempt for her daughter, Elmira. In 1908, Elmira was asked if she had ever received a proposal to be a plural wife. She looked startled and answered, "Yes and no." She said one day Mother and I were in the front room and Joseph Smith came walking down the street and turned in at our gate. I had a hunch, and as he entered the front door, I went out the back and remained until he left. When I returned, my mother told me that Joseph had come at the request of his brother, Hiram, to ask me to be his wife, and also asked Mother to ask me, seeing I wasn't in. So when my mother said, "Elmira, what do you say about it?" I said, No. Elmira refused and soon left the church and married S.B. Stoddard, a bitter anti-Mormon. In 1908, she signed a document that read, "I, Elmira K. Hanscom, know that spiritual marriage, as it was called, was taught by Joseph and Hiram Smith when in Nauvoo before they were killed, that this spiritual marriage allowed men to have more than one wife at the same time. I also know that Emmeline and Harriet Page came to me and said this was a hard trial, that they tried to convince me." Martha migrated to Utah with the Saints and in April 1877 attended the dedication of the St. George Temple, where she performed ordnance work for many of her deceased ancestors. On November 20, 1901, she died in Hooper at the home of her daughter, Adeline.